Let's try this. So I wanted to rant about the Al Franken situation. And the male bashing. What do I want to say? I want to say the backlash of culture against, well, white males, but mostly about males. Obviously, there's good reason, right? In the history of culture, aggression is virtually always this kind of aggression that we're talking about in culture these days is almost always from males, and even more so, or sometimes you could also categorize white males as being the straight, white, affluent males are the aggressors, right? Okay, and I get that. Undeniable. And I think I want to use the Al Franken incidents, the current state of affairs with him, as an example of how I feel about it, or a case study. I've been thinking a lot about this over the course of these past few years, when culture has really started to awaken. We're really starting to understand. We're starting to talk about and understand, and there's been change, and it's been great. Thanks, Donald Trump. Ugh. Right? But that's kind of, we're really talking about it now. We've been talking about it always, kind of, but man, we're really talking about it now. And each new case that comes up gets us thinking more and more about it, and I'm seeing some things I don't like, and you might call it, if you look on Reddit or 4chan or something, you're going to see I don't see this term anymore, but the SWJ, is that right? The social justice warrior, SJW. The backlash against progressiveness. What I'm trying to say is like anti women's rights. There's an argument. So with all this progressiveness, with all this calling out white males, there's the backlash. That's what I'm trying to point out. Oh, you're just a crybaby, or the words. I don't remember them. That's not my point. What was my point? It's a fun subject, so I'll link back to it. Because it's everywhere. This is why it's hard. It's everywhere. There's a lot to it. So trying to have a train of thought, it takes you all over the place. And imagine trying to argue these points. This is why we're not effective. This is why I don't feel the conversation is as effective as I wish it were, because it's complex and it goes a lot of places, like focusing on the counter, or focusing on particular issues. Well, I'll just jump right into the Al Franken circumstance. I saw what spawned this video. I saw a post that is entitled, "I'm not ready for the redemption of men." And there was in the post, in the article, was a conversation a woman had with someone, or probably a man, and the man was arguing, we're focusing on the wrong things. You can't lump Al Franken in with worse aggressors, people who actually violated people, like Roy Moore, maybe. I don't know the details on exactly what happened. I know it was a long time ago for him too. But the argument for the male was, you're lumping all in together, and you shouldn't do that. And the woman was like, well, sort of. But no, you know, men, we're not ready for redemption, for the redemption of the men. I'm not ready to heal yet, or to stop attacking. I'm not ready to stop attacking yet. And of course, she has great points. There's been a lot of injustice. So what do you want? Justice. And what does that mean? Well, what it seems to mean is, you know, smearing of masculinity. Now, this is what I'm seeing as a white male, and I'm sure that my judgment is cloudy in some ways, but I have a point with the Al Franken thing, and I think it's valid. I think it's valid enough to make a video about. That's the context. That's what spawned this idea, this video, these feelings, this rant. So I don't agree that all men should be lumped together and crucified. Not that that's what's happening. But as that point, here's why I don't think that's okay. I don't think that the language of the redemption of men, why I don't think that language is appropriate. I think it should be more along the lines of not ready for the redemption of predators or particular instances or whomever. Because, I mean, of course, I don't feel like a predator. I don't think it's fair to. I was born a male. I didn't have a choice. It's prejudice, you know. But I'm not. The counter to this argument is that, oh, poor me, I'm just a white male. That's not the focus I want. What I want to focus on is this. Let's look at the facts of the Al Franken circumstance. Who is this man? He's a comedian for 40 some odd years, right? He grew up, you know, his upbringing was an older culture. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just not trying to I'm not ever through any of these arguments, I'm not trying to say what he did was okay. I just want to look at it. I think people are ignoring a lot of reality with this blanket language. These realities that I want to get to, they're important. And no, this video takes so long because it's such a complex issue. I wish I could just sum it all up in 30 seconds and like, here's why things are the way they are. And I'm not that great at explaining that. I'll try, hopefully, do some editing on this video to make it smaller, but I always have to keep explaining myself too, because let me just keep going to the point. Who is this man, Al Franken? Put yourself in his shoes. Not saying it's right. Put yourself in his shoes. He's an older man. He grew up probably not with a ton of self-confidence. Not saying he's unattractive. I'm saying probably not a ton of self-confidence. He probably had a lot of insecurity growing up and through his younger middle ages, 20s and 30s. I mean, he was a comedian, he was on SNL. He was funny, so that gave him some confidence, but probably not the kind of confidence that George Clooney probably has, specifically with women. That's what I'm talking about, his relationship with women. Try to understand what it is like to be a person growing up with an awkward relationship with women. Not terribly attractive, probably didn't get a lot of energy from the opposite sex. And of course he wanted the energy. We all want, you know, sparks and romance and things like that. But not all of us get it. So, we have this man who now becomes a senator. and now has a new kind of confidence. It's not the George Clooney kind. It's a confidence that sprouts from power, and it's clearly flawed confidence. But try to imagine someone without confidence in themselves, necessarily in his abilities, but confidence in the fact, oh, I'm a senator, I can do things. And it's not a decision you make, like, oh, now I'm a senator, now I can slap people's asses. That's not it. It's, you see it. You imagine being a senator, especially someone like this. Now you have people looking to you with a certain kind of energy, like, whatever you want, man, you're the man. You are the man, so whatever you say goes. Imagine getting flooded with that all the time. It builds this strange kind of confidence, I'm guessing. I'm not a senator. But I can put myself in those shoes, maybe. I've been around a lot of different kinds of circumstance. One of my theories, this man, he goes, he's never really, he's been around beautiful women, but never with power. Now he's around beautiful women with power. Now he has power. And he thinks, he sees Leanne Tweeden, beautiful woman. And he's like, I'm a senator, she'll be honored. This is his subconscious talking. She'll be honored by any kind of energy that I throw at her. I'm a senator. Any kind of attention I throw at her, she'll just love. So he throws his awkward energy at her. Oh, let me that, or he thinks it'll be cute. And again, this was 10 years ago or whatever. It's 2004 or 5 or 6 or whatever it was. Culture has shifted a lot since then. So his thinking was like, culturally, this isn't that big of a deal. This kind of stuff, you see it happen. I don't want to defend it necessarily. I'm just trying to understand it. So back in those days, it wasn't as big a deal as it is now. So, and also he's awkward. And also he has this power he thinks is going to be received really well. So he's like, what's the big deal? Now the kissing thing is a whole separate thing, and it ties in with that. But the pictures he took and the asses he slapped, and the energy he gets back when remember you're hearing that he slapped some women's asses inappropriately. At the time, the energy they give back is probably not to tell him off, probably not to educate him. It's probably a giggle or some kind of energy that is confusing, or maybe could be confused as well received. Like, imagine a slap of the ass and then you get back, oh God, you're such a crazy senator, or something. Of course, inside she's feeling horribly sick and like, ugh, what a creep. And she just doesn't know how to deal with it, so they laugh and We all know that psychology. It's in all of us, to awkwardness. We don't know how to deal with things as they're happening. Only after reflection do we get mad, like, what the hell, you violated me. Especially after years, looking back on the subject, of course, and that's why they're finally releasing this. So, what's my point? I'm not saying we should forgive necessarily. I'm saying we should strive to understand. Maybe forgiveness is appropriate. I'm not saying that. I can't. I'm not. That's a whole different subject. It's much more complex. Forgiveness is much more complex than understanding. What I think is a problem is the ignorance that I am seeing from progressives, which I am a member of. At least I strive to be. But as a man, I have a perspective that I feel like is helpful to the rest of my progressive fellows and fellowettes or whatever. I think the the psychology from a woman's perspective, or even a gay woman's perspective, or a black woman's, or a minority's, a non-SWAM perspective, straight white affluent male. Someone taught me about that. From the a counter to that perspective, or from someone else's perspective, you've been on the other side of the aggression for years, right? Or always. You know, society is rigged, not purposefully or not, I don't know. You know, if you're a white man, you might have an easier time than if you were a black man or a woman or any kind of other person, for reasons that we can get into, that, you know, we can all try to understand those reasons, but that's not, they're not defensible necessarily. So put yourself in that perspective, which you probably might already be in those shoes, but I'm trying to put myself in that perspective. You know, you're on the receiving, you're on the bullshit end of the spectrum, right? Like the culture fucking hates you and loves this other particular certain group, and then all of a sudden the tables are flipped, and it feels like it might be the natural course to be like, no, fuck you, you're just smearing, and now I'm in power or something like that. And now that's what I'm worried about, is that we're not learning. And it's not justice, what I'm proposing. That's true. Justice, pure justice, might be to string us all up, not literally, but, you know, to really defame straight white affluent males. Maybe that is justice, and I'm all about that. I don't think it's right, though, for obvious reasons, and for cultural reasons. I don't think that's going to progress us. I feel like being the bigger man, it's more male language in our cultural thing, sorry about that. Being the bigger man or bigger person, that is the beauty. That's the beautiful thing that we all should see, you know, honor, integrity, being able to rise above history. History is very powerful, right? It makes us want justice or revenge or vengeance, right? But I feel like the ideal should be bigger than this. And maybe the timing isn't quite right, but man, I'm seeing ignorance when people don't know they're being ignorant. Of course they can't know, that's the nature of ignorance. But I'm seeing it, I'm calling it out. I'm not saying Al Franken is innocent. I'm saying understand. Educate. Understand yourself. We are all the same. We are. And people might have issue with this, but that's bullshit. We are all the same. Culture gives us our differences. Males and females and the like, we're the same creature. You put us in a circumstance without any bias, we're going to act pretty much the same. I mean, at birth, you know, we're going to have some differences, but you put a white male and a black female in a circumstance from birth and give them the same feedback, you're going to get a similar kind of person out of them. That's just because we're the same species. Males and females, we're different in a couple of ways, physically. Minor ways, if you think about it. Maybe males are a little bit larger averagely, and maybe some more muscle versus some other things. But man, those are, compared to the other facts that we are up, I'm getting off on a weird tangent here. My point is that deep down, we're all the same people. Culture's influences. Sure, for me, as a white male, I have less to be scared of because the culture I live in is very accepting of white males. And what does that do to a person when you're accepted versus what does that do to a person when you're not accepted, when you're on the outs? Those are very big things if you're talking on a cultural level. Like you live in a society that doesn't love you versus you live in a society that loves you. I get it. Those are huge. And should not be ignored. But let's call it like it is. It's a cultural thing versus a skin color thing or a penis thing. Seriously, man. There are perverts and predators and assholes and other words. But in each of all of us, there's beauty too. I'm sure, I don't want to say that person's name, but look at Bill Cosby. He did, I don't remember exactly what he did. I'm sure he did some horrible things to people, but he also had kindness in him. Don't ignore it. It's true. It's not PC. But that's my point is, we all have in us beauty and ugliness. The affinity for kindness and the affinity for bigotry. Not affinity, that's the wrong word. The ability to, the capability to be kind and generous. All of us. Culture gives us, these people are taking our jobs, so we gotta hate them. Or, well, not got to, but you feel attacked always or something by certain people. I'm trying to put myself in the mind of a white nationalist. What's their main argument is that, I don't really know. Never mind. But I'm not defending a psychopath. That's a mental issue. If you murder someone, you gotta go to jail. We need a level of justice, right? We need some rules that are easy to understand because society is fragile otherwise. So I'm not going to defend that. I'm not saying a psychopath is a good person, but I'm saying, generally speaking, people are people. We're apes. We're struggling to find our way, but culture is growing. We're learning a ton this year. Maybe partly because of this grotesqueness in our government. I hope my point was clear. How many ever minutes this video is, no one's going to watch it. It's very important, though. And I don't feel like these points are coming out the way I feel like they should. So here they are. I hope I can summarize. I can't. Hope this video turns out okay. This is just another rant.